All right, guys, so you're going to have your block of clay. When you're unwrapping it, please try to keep your saran wrap neat, because you're going to use this to keep your clay together and wet. So really make sure, try not to make any holes in it or anything. Okay, so you're going to take a little bit of clay to start. Our base is not going to be huge. Our base is going to be about like 4 to 5 inches wide. So not a ton. Okay, I'm going to wrap up my extra clay, make sure that it's nice and it's wrapped up so it's not going to dry out. So the clay you have should be pliable. What I did is when I wrapped the clay up, I also put a little bit of water in with it so that it would keep it wet. So remember how in the video she showed you, she took her clay and she made it kind of in a log to start, and then she kind of twisted it, and then you're going to roll it, and I'm using my whole hand as I'm rolling. So I'm kind of starting at my fingertips, and then as I roll, I kind of spread my fingers out. So I'm going to kind of keep them together, and then as I go, I'm going to spread them out as I get to my palms, and then that's going to keep getting it to be thinner and thinner. Okay? So you want to start with a chunk that's pretty, not huge, but you want to start with a pretty big, a pretty sizable piece. And remember, if your thing starts to get flattened out, you can kind of twist it and then it'll come back. But you really want to use your whole hand. And as I'm going, I don't want to have anything that's too thin in certain areas. I want this whole coil to kind of be a similar thickness. So remember, start with your fingertips. Then as you roll it, you're going to kind of spread your fingers out a little bit. And then that will get you to be thinner. So you want to have a pretty long coil, because for this we're making our base. Okay, and again, if your coil is getting a little too squarish, you can kind of round it out a little bit. You guys have a little bit more room on your table than I do, but I'm trying to make sure that my coil is an even thickness throughout. Okay. So you don't need to have a coil that's like this long. I'm trying to, for the base. It'll be good if it's one coil, but if we make it out of a couple, it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So to make our base is going to basically be like a snail shell, kind of a shape, that kind of a spiral. Okay, so if you guys can look up here, look my piece, is start with my one end, and I'm going to kind of curl it in, and I'm just going to curl this onto itself. I'm making a nice little spiral. Okay, as I'm curling it. Okay, since my coil should be similar thickness throughout, my spiral should be nice and even. Okay. And then for this little end piece that's kind of sticking out, I'm going to just kind of taper it onto the edge. So this is my base, all right? And what I'm going to do now to make sure that all these coils stay together, I'm going to take my tool that you guys have, and this is the inside of my bowl, correct? So I'm going to be building my bowl. I want this to be smooth. So I'm going to take my tool and I'm going to scrape this to make it smooth. When I consider this scraping, I think of it like buttering toast. Is that kind of and you're not like you wouldn't stab your bread with the knife. You're trying to scrape across it. That's how I would recommend you to blend, because if you're digging in, what you're going to do is you're going to end up making a hole. So you need to kind of get this idea of this sideways motion to blend these coils together. And you want to try and get this inside to be nice and smooth. And you want to go in different directions, because then that really makes sure that these coils are going to stay together. Okay? And you want your inner piece to be nice and smooth. So after I blend with my tool, I can go on with my finger and I can smooth it out. Okay, now I'm going to take my ruler. I'm just going to see how I'm doing as far as width is concerned. Oh, I'm right at 4. Perfect. So you want to have about 4 inches. But if you look, if I flip this over, you can see that there's my nice coil. So the outside of our bowl is still going to have that coil decoration to it. It's the inside that's going to be smooth. Okay? Now, as you guys are making your base, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to come around and I'm going to give you guys a piece of tape, and the tape is going to go on your bag so we can tell our bags apart. Okay?